first speaker up is Jon Hersam. Jon is grateful to be a part of Toastmasters, not only because it's a great organization, but in his words, it's a, quote, especially fantastic local club. When volunteering for this speech, focusing on his second objective, organize your speech, he felt lucky to be able to present again so soon. After all the very helpful feedback from his icebreaker, coupled with his desire to help everyone get to know him better, he has chosen to share more about himself today in his speech entitled, Trailblazing, the Art of How I Got Here. So please get ready for an exciting journey as we embark on the tour of Jon's life. Please welcome Jon Hersam.
Thank you, Table Topics Master. Thank you, esteemed members. I'm grateful to be here today. Can you imagine and reminisce of the experience you had driving down the freeway in your very first car? I remember mine. I was driving an Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra, beautiful white, red interior, not a care in the world. I had my trailer hooked on behind me, and I had plenty of miles to go. I had calculated out the mileage and just filled up back in Utah, and I knew that I had plenty of miles before I needed to fill up again. Looking at the fuel gauge, it started to go down, but I thought, no, my calculations are correct. Unfortunately, the car calculated a little differently. I forgot to factor in the fact that I was towing a trailer, and so I ran out of gas. On the side of the road, thinking about this situation, my plan did not go as planned. And so I started to think about, how do things happen? How do our life plans not happen the way we thought? Well, I was leaving Utah because I had graduated from Brigham Young University in psychology. Even that was an interesting situation. When I went to college, I thought, what do I major in? I'll pick accounting. I like math. It was at the top of the list when I was picking from the pull-down menu. I said, good idea. My first year at school was a little bit challenging, and I thought, I don't know if accounting's for me. I decided to take off a little bit of time and went to Brazil, where I served an LDS mission for 2 years. Well, I thought when I came back, I would have everything figured out, I'd be more mature, and I would know exactly what I wanted to do. Well, that worked out perfectly, except for I didn't know what I wanted to do. I got back and started talking with people, started understanding the process, and I decided to pick nursing. Well, I tend to take prerequisites to get into the School of Nursing. And so I take the classes and do all the prerequisites, and I sat down with my guidance counselor to review my admissions. She sat down with me and said, Jon, unfortunately, no matter how many times you apply, you're never going to get in here. I said, all right, let's look at a different major. And so I settled on psychology. Psychology classes I started enjoying, and I started engaging. I started volunteering. I even got a job before I graduated in a mental health treatment center working with youth. In this experience, I learned a lot, and I learned to love the work that I was doing. I was helping youth be able to deal with mental health issues as well as behavioral issues. I certainly learned a lot of drug references, names for my mother that I never knew, and a lot of other vulgar language and experiences. But I also learned how to work with people, how to be able to de-escalate situations, be able to work in a way that we could collaborate and work in a way to resolve the issues that were occurring. I got promoted to a manager, and this opportunity provided me the chance to not only train youth and help them, but also train others how to help the youth. I enjoyed this progress. I graduated from college. I got a 50-cent raise because of my degree, which I thought was a little strange. It was so little. But I was grateful to be doing the work I was doing. But something needed to change, and I found a little bit of a delay or a little bit of a casualness, and I decided to make a change. I wanted to move. I wanted to get out of the college town and be able to move out on my own. And I met a friend that was a former roommate and said, hey, why don't you move to California with me? I had family there. I said, great idea. And so I embarked on that journey. Fortunately, ran out of gas. But when I arrived in California, I had no job. I began looking and found a job with a crisis center. And there I worked with individuals with disabilities in order to provide them with crisis support so that the police would not need to be involved. This continued until I was promoted to be a program director of a sister program where they were a day program providing activities during the day for individuals with disabilities. This was a whole new trail that I was blazing, a whole new experience. I was the youngest director in the company and was learning a lot of experiences, things that I had never even thought of before. How do you deal with 30 employees and 72 clients and lots of paperwork? Well, I had experiences that I hadn't thought of before. How do you deal with when a staff comes to you and says, hey, I saw this employee push this client down? Or even more challenging, a client that comes to you and says, hey, this staff touched me inappropriately. Well, as I worked on these things and worked with my coworkers, I began to realize that I enjoyed management and I enjoyed these experiences, but they were challenging to me. I had one staff that I wanted to help and wanted to coach. I enjoyed being able to help the culture develop and grow. But there was this one employee, she had been there the longest out of all the employees, and I thought she was the icon of the company, 17 years in the office. Unfortunately, her behavior started changing, and she started doing things that were unprofessional, and we began having conversations about her job and her job status. Firing was unfortunately a part of the work I didn't enjoy, and unfortunately I had to let her go. But it struggled within me to say, what could I have done better? What more could I have helped her with? Or what more could I have helped with the culture? This led to my next path in life, going back to school and getting an MBA. And that is why I'm here in Arizona, to get an MBA and to be able to find a way to help those individuals that I work with. And I want to develop cultures and help companies. And so I'm glad to say that I got an internship as an HR intern. And I'm working with a company and understanding their culture. And I'm so excited to gain these skills. So that's why I'm here today. That's who I am, a trailblazer. I think each one of us are trailblazers. We're living our lives that no one has lived before and no one has done before. And we're out on our own journeys. And so whether we run out of gas, or maybe we lose our momentum, or maybe we find people in our lives that tell us that we can't do it, we can each continue on our own paths and our own trails. And that's what I want to continue doing. And that's what I want you to know about me and get to know me as I get to know you. Thank you, Tabletop. Thank you so much.